Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 10 o'clock, so I'll call this meeting to order. We will begin as usual with an invocation, followed by the pledges. Dear Lord, I come to you this morning and thank you, Lord, for the start of another day, another week. We do remember in our prayers the residents in our community who were affected by the weather over the weekend, the tornado, the folks whose homes were damaged or destroyed. Pray for their continued recovery. Thank you, Lord, for all of those who played a part in assisting. Pray that you would guide us through this meeting today and the decisions we make and in our activities in the week ahead. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. As we move into citizens communication, our Office of Emergency Management has a update over the weekend and what we saw.
We're first?
You're first, yes, sir.
The presentation. So we know we're during citizen communication, and we normally don't do a presentation during this time, but I think it was going to be important since the weather event that occurred to us on Friday and throughout the weekend. So obviously we see what happened, and we're going to talk a little bit about it and what we've collected. And so bear with me. I do apologize if I miss anybody in the thank yous and the gratitude that we put out there, because there was a lot of moving parts, very complex incident that occurred. So the latter part of last week on Thursday, we received notification for the National Weather Service out of Corpus Christi that we had a storm cell that was going to be moving in, and we had a slight risk of severe thunderstorms or slight risk of severe weather occurring on Friday afternoon. We received a notification somewhere around Friday midday that the storm cell that was moving through the Kennedy-Carnes area was gaining in strength and what they call pulsating, and so that pulsation started occurring, and it was wobbling back and forth. It was losing some of its intensity and gaining it, and so by midday on Friday afternoon, with the daytime heating that occurred, obviously the storm grew in its intensity and capacity, which ultimately resulted in a tornadic activity, which we're going to see here in a second. And so, could you go to the next slide? So there's some of on the top right, I'm not going to read everything on the left of it over the overview, but you can hone in on that. They have determined through their investigative techniques that it was an EF1 tornado that touched down, a very strong EF1 tornado. And so we know that our first call came in at Coletta Creek Reservoir in the park there, where we had some entrapment of some folks there. You ask, well, that's over in Goliad County. The dam and the reservoir sit on our side, and then the park is on Goliad side. But with the technical rescue that needed to take place, they called the Victoria Fire Department out. There was people that were trapped there in their RVs. We did talk to the Coletta Park that afternoon. They had made the decision to go ahead and evacuate the park and go ahead and close it down so they could assess their infrastructure. So that was the first call that came in, and after that, the wind started developing over the Raisin area and moving, I guess it would be west to eastbound across the Port of Victoria and through the Crescent Valley area, Crouch Road area, I guess, which was Crescent Valley, DaCosta, and then it ultimately through Placido, and then continue on down into Calhoun County. So you can see where the preliminary damage assessment that was done by the National Weather Service out of Corpus Christi, and just some photos up there. But the 105 to 120 wind line is definitively, as it starts to drop out of the sky, right there over the Crescent Valley area. And so the dots you see on there, which is not a very good representation of it, will be what we call the ISTAT, or it's where we had gathered all the information and data related to the people's homes or property that were damaged. So, but it does look like it was an EF1 tornado is what they're as established in the data shows. So can you go to the next one? This is the tool that we use, and so hats off to Victoria County Sheriff's Office, road and bridge crews that were out there related to the ISTAT. This gives us the capability to go out and work with our personnel on site to quickly understand what damages we have. Instead of us going out door to door doing what we used to be called the damage assessment on a windshield assessment, we drive by and see what we're doing. This tool allows us to put the tool actually in the first responders' hands, and as they're going out and looking at 123 York Street or whatever it may be, that they can actually capture the data right then and there, and it gets uploaded into the ISTAT program, and so we can see it. And so this was the program that we used that day, and it was established the very next morning at our first command meeting on that Saturday morning. So can you go to the next one? So the driven data from that, and so once again, we actually worked with the Victoria County Sheriff's Office. Thank you, Sheriff Marr and Chief Franklin and Captain Hernandez. Germany. I had to think about it. They went out and had their crews come in. They had brought extra shifts in that day to allow us to actually put these devices in their hands and go out and really survey and populate the information. We apologize for the map. We can't really zoom in on the map for Victoria, but the different dots represent the different damages and the locations. I think at first when Captain arrived on Friday afternoon, as they were trying to get the situational assessment done and just understanding how bad it had gotten, we're talking 30 or 40 homes, and that has now grown to about 133 properties in its entirety, with 44 being major and or destroyed. And so that didn't take place for our first couple of hours. We knew that there was bad was bad, but didn't know how bad what it had gotten until the very next morning. And so the ISTAT program gives us just that. And so we have 133 total that we've identified. They've got everywhere from minor all the way up to major and destroyed properties that are out there. And so we'll talk a little bit about the response and the recovery aspects of that in a second. So this is available to us. If you want to call our office, we can help folks understand what they're seeing here, and we can drive in on the map a little bit more. But for this presentation, we weren't able to get in it. Can you go to the next one? Emergency response. And so obviously within matters of hours, and I credit this with the blue sky initiatives that we put into play every single day and the efficacy in which our office holds. I cannot tell you how proud I am all the time of Jenna and Jessica and Alex and Ralph and Lauren and Mallory, the fantastic job that they do and the leadership that we all have together. And so they did a great job. I was out of town when this all started occurring. Within the first 2 hours, they had the complex incident was growing, and they were getting stabilization to that really quickly. And so there is always a period of time where you can't outrun the information that's coming at you. It's so much coming at you at one time. And so the first couple of hours that were there, from the onset of this until 5 o'clock that afternoon, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock was our first unified command meeting we had. And you say, well, isn't that a little long out from the event? We actually had command set up. Victoria Fire Department did a great job in setting up command on the initial area where they thought the most damage was being occurred and the calls that were coming in for life safety issues. And so obviously you've seen the incident objectives that we established within matters of minutes of this incident occurring. Obviously, we're working with our electrical providers. So Jen and myself and the staff were already on the phone with AEP and VEC to establish a staging area for them and also how fast we could get them out. Unique for first responders, as we're moving through our community of a damaged area, especially wind-driven damage, power poles were down everywhere and lines were down. We have to assume all lines are energized, and we have to do this in a safe manner. So obviously that puts a constraint between us and the citizens we need to serve. So very unique for us, and so we have to make sure that those people are moving through safely. And so we actually partnered with Victoria Electric Co-op and AEP as well, and put road crews with them along with TxDOT to be able to help clear the roads and de-energize those lines before we can actually move in and start doing it. A little bit further investigation on what's happening. And so once again, all the first responder crews out there, hats off to the Victoria County Sheriff's Office, AEP and VEC, the road and bridge folks are out there. There's a whole laundry list of folks, and I'm going to read each one of them here in a minute. They did a fantastic and amazing job. So the responding agencies that all took place within matters of 2 to 3 hours. You see them out there, Victoria Fire Department, Victoria County Sheriff's Office, which were the two first initial people out there. Our office was shortly after that. County judge was there, and within matters of hours of this thing occurring, and actually before 5 o'clock for our first unified command meeting, we actually had a disaster declaration that was already signed and put into place. So hats off to the judge's office and the staff for doing just that. Victoria County Fire Marshal's office is out there working with our volunteer fire agencies because we knew we were going to have search and rescue. Quick side note, our barometer is always based upon how many calls we're receiving. We are fortunate enough and very blessed the fact that we had no injuries associated to this and no fatalities and deaths. Unheard of. And so one of the first calls we actually had was to the 911 center. Victoria Fire Department had some calls that were coming in, but they were on standby because they were issuing a staging area thinking that we were going to have a lot more. And so we were very fortunate that we had no loss of life and or injuries. And furthermore, no loss of life and injuries during the recovery and initial response phase because we had a lot of downed power lines and energized lines that were everywhere. So the volunteer fire agencies that were out there, Victoria County Fire Marshal's Office, Nathan Kelly and Dan Porter were working directly with those volunteer fire agencies up there, DeCosta, Placido, Bloomington, Lone Tree, Mission Valley, Raisin, and even Victoria County Fire to come out and help us do just that, general assessments and any type of search and rescue that we may need. Our TDM affiliate, Ernie Paez and his CLO staff were out there as well, and DPS, I don't know how many, Texas TAM, we had quite a few that were working in direct correlation with the Victoria County Sheriff's Office to help establish. We actually had a rail car. Many people saw the intermodal that was flipped over and actually moved over onto a right-of-way or in the middle of a road. So we had Union Pacific out there as well that were helping us clear that. Victoria County Precincts 1, 3, and 4 did an amazing job to come out there. Obviously, Commissioner Garcia is not with us today here, but his staff were overwhelmed because it's a very isolated event that occurred within their precinct. And the rest of the precincts that came together with the road and bridge crews that were coming out there immediately responding was just unheard of. And so thank y'all for doing just that. And they're going to continue for the next couple of weeks. And I don't want to steal Avery or John's thunder, but there's going to be a lot of things going on. City of Victoria Public Works and City Manager's Office, Daryl Lisak came out, helped us understand debris management, as well as Avery was in contact with their Public Works on bringing out different apparatuses to help move debris because we needed to make everything safe and move routes. So we thank them for coming out, and there was continuous communications with City Manager's Office, basically saying what we need, they'll send it. AEP and VEC were there as well, obviously, and our Victoria CERT, and I'll get to the CERT here in a minute, but through our office we have community emergency response teams that work directly with Ralph Montes and Alex Partida that provide ancillary services as volunteers, and they did a fantastic job this weekend with the Family Assistance Center. The responding agencies over the continuation on the far right was even STEC. STEC was looking at the grid to making sure that we had a stabilized grid that was out there and de-energizing and energizing the things they could. Union Pacific, Victoria County Engineering Office, John and Avery came out, were instrumental in the initial response and working as road and bridge crews, and just establishing a baseline procedure and what we were going to use for road and clearance and debris removal. So Victoria County Treasurer's Office and Auditor's Office both obviously establishing the financial means for us, TxDOT and American Red Cross. I'm going to come back to American Red Cross in just a second. And so within matters of minutes, one of the first calls that Jen and I were dealing with was with Alex Partida, our disaster recovery coordinator, looking at where we were going to try to position a family assistance center. Where could we get people as they were in need? Because we knew at that time, talking to the sheriff's office, how many people were going to be displaced. And so Alex worked with the American Red Cross and St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Bloomington to establish a family assistance center. Within 3 hours of us in the initial event, we had that established, and by 7 o'clock that night, I think 7 o'clock that night, we were up and operational. So within 5 hours of the event, we actually had some place that folks could go to. And so, and he was working with our other coalition partners. DeCosta Hall obviously opened up their hall to us and allowed us to work through being there as part of the incident command. We actually worked with our hospitals through our STRAC and RAC component, and then obviously the National Weather Service, and then Representative Louderback also came out and supported us, and that was a great effort there. So could you do the next one? I'm almost done. I know I passed my 5 minutes. I apologize. So St. Patrick's Catholic Church stood up for us with American Red Cross Friday, May 1st, within the first 5 hours. We had no overnight stays. Most of the folks that were out in the community went ahead and were either moving to family and friends or residents or staying the night there with no power. Power restoration was rapidly occurring throughout Friday night. We had gone from an estimated 4,500 to 5,000 customers being without power within 24 hours to cutting that down almost to less than 1,000. And so they were doing a fantastic job. But when you're talking 40 to 60 poles missing, it's going to take them a little while to get the power back up and restored. So the Family Assistance Center stood up. They had no overnight stays, but they served about 200 meals in the last 2 days. And then today they'll be open from 10 to 7, assisting families. And Alex will be working directly with the American Red Cross for case management and also our other long-term recovery partners, not to be confused with long-term recovery that's down at our building, but the long-term recovery process. He'll be working with our coalition members to establish the basic unmet needs that the families have, the residents have within our community. So that's going to be it in a nutshell. So can you go back to the ISTAT real quick, the graph? That one right there. So it's going to be important for us to understand that these things come on very quickly and kind of very complex. There's a lot of conversation about, well, whether there was going to be a tornado warning that was issued or a watch. There's some constraints behind the National Weather Service and how they can predict where things are occurring. Obviously, talking to our local media partners here, we understand that there was a bend and echo hook that was out there and is significant and signifying there may be some developing storms. but that's how fast these things occur. And so the message, once again, from our office is always going to be, make sure that you have your weather alerts that are turned on your phone and have multiple ways to receive those, whether it's a NOAA weather radio that's at your office or within your residence, battery operated, as well as having all those notifications turned on your phone, because as they start to put that information out, that's your best, most effective way to get it. Once again, very fortunate we had no injuries and no loss of life.
Right.
So, Judge, I know it took way longer than 5 minutes, but
That is perfectly fine.
huge impact to our
And-
community, so.
Yeah, well, it was a very well coordinated and well executed response to this, and I commend you and your crew, Rick, and Sheriff, Chief, all of you guys out there. Like with every one of these incidences, it's a team effort, a large team, effective team, and that's really what makes it possible, and we succeed as a team. So I echo the thanks to everybody who you listed on that list, Rick, and I think it was I know the feedback I got from folks at the state were, as we've heard before, related to our Office of Emergency Management and our team, high praise for a job well done, and I just say thanks to you for that. I know that the work continues, there are lots of cleanup still,
Will be.
debris pickup, but I think it was very effective, and I think as good as it is, we get better with each incident, and again, it's a team effort.
We have a continuation of some calls today, and so we'll be setting forth the process of doing debris management for the right-of-way. They'll work through John and Avery and County Engineering Department along with the Road and Bridge crews, so establish some protocols, because there will be a long haul of this. And so then obviously our office will be directly involved with the long-term recovery process itself, to helping people get the needs that they have. Unique enough for us, this is not a name storm, so somebody asked us today, well, why is there not a name associated to it? The naming convention, other than hurricanes, came from the Weather Channel, and the media folks are the ones that usually drive that. The National Weather Service, correct if I'm wrong on this, National Weather Service normally does not identify a named storm, so right now we'll be classifying this as just the May 1st severe weather event.
Okay.
And so we'll make sure that that gets published and put out there. But once again, it's going to be a long haul for the
Yeah.
community members that have been affected. And so thank you to all the community members out there, because they really were working hard, hand in hand. Judge and I were out driving around Friday evening, and citizens were helping citizens. They were all on top of roofs and putting tarps down and boarding up
Yeah.
windows, because it was a very complex incident, so. But thank you all.
Great job, guys,
Questions?
as always. Great job.
Okay, sorry about taking a little bit longer than 5. so.
Perfectly
No
fine.
worries, man. Thank you, guys.
All right. While all that activity was going on, well, Michael, you can go next.
Come on.
Yeah, I wanted to let him finish. I think the tornado comes first, you know.
Okay.
I'm Michael Vondro. I live at 2107 North Bend, Jordan. I just wanted to thank the city and the county and the commissioners and judges and all the ones I didn't name to helping with the tornado, the city and the county. Appreciate it. And want to thank Help Keep Victoria Beautiful for Saturday doing their work. Usually there's a commissioner's helping somewhere, you know. And also on Friday, the weather was kind of bad, and there was a whole bunch of loose dogs on around 2107 North Jecker Street. The guy had the gate open. He's third that had 29 dogs, and Animal Care Services had to come and work with them for 4 days to capture 11 of them. And to this day, he still hasn't taken care of the dogs. He's got a fence that's at a 45-degree angle where dogs can get out. He had the gate opened Friday. I didn't tell him Animal Care Services because the weather was bad. I figured I'd save it till Monday. And he's got tons of trash in his yard and around the fence. And I don't know if the county or the city can help, or code enforcement or the health department. And he refuses to clean up his trash and debris. It's filth and squalor. It's like he lives in a third world country, except we don't live in the Philippines. We live in the United States, and he refuses to take care of the dogs, his trash. And I don't know if Help Victoria Beautiful could come and pick up all that trash for him or something, but he works at Christ Kitchen, And he still refuses to take care of the trash. I don't know if someone needs to file a lawsuit against him to make him conform, or, solid waste disposal needs to come, but he, to this day, won't take care of his trash or his dogs. And I wish, the government could get involved and, make him fix it against his wishes, because, he don't have no interest in fixing it now, but I hope someone can do something about it. And the school bond, it got passed. It was like 50-50 either way. It got passed by 100 votes. So that $240 million, I hope it goes to repairs and not to the superintendent's salary so much. And one superintendent made like $500,000 a year, This is a couple years ago, and I think the superintendent was making $250,000 a year and just got a raise to $12,000. That's $262,000. And I hope they use it for repairs and stuff, and don't spend it on their exorbitant lifestyle and, per diem and going to all these meetings and motels. I hope it actually helps. And, I hope the superintendent don't make $500,000 a year like the other. That's just too much. That's like the average teacher makes $50,000 a year. And that's crazy when a superintendent makes 10 times more than a teacher. Right now, this superintendent's making about 5 times more than that typical teacher. But anyway, thanks, and appreciate everything the county and city did.
Thank you, Mr. Von Rowe.
Thank you, sir. In addition to the school bond, obviously, there were other elections on the ballot: school board, water boards, water districts. I spoke to our new elections administrator Saturday evening and told her, well done. Obviously, she's new in the role, and we had a very action-packed election that she ran, I think, very effectively. And so a job well done as far as Karen running that first election since she's been on board here. What else might we have in citizens communication this morning?
I just wanted to give a quick reminder of my upcoming Commissioner Communication Forum, be the first one of 2026. That's going to be next Monday, the 11th. It's at the Heritage Building located at 115 North Bridge, and the session will begin at 5:30. I've also invited Victoria County Public Health Department there, and they will be given a brief presentation as well on several topics. Thank you.
Excellent.
Good
Thank you,
stuff.
Commissioner. Lauren?
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Judge and Commissioners. How are y'all doing?
All right.
I'm just here to let everybody know that registration is open for Victoria County 360. It will stay open until the end of July, where applicants will be assessed, and then we'll select our attendees for the fall academy, for lack of a better word. So if you're not familiar with Victoria County 360, it is a 6-week program. We did extend it to 3-hour sessions this next year at the request and feedback from our previous attendees. So we cover a variety of topics. All of you will be there, along with engineering and Victoria County clerk and law enforcement and OEM and 18 others. So we invite everybody to apply.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Morning, Avery.
Morning, bud.
Morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. And just a quick update, not to steal thunder from Rick's team. It was overshadowed by a lot of the weather this weekend, but I do want everybody to be aware that we breached a minor flood stage on the Guadalupe River Sunday evening around 6 p.m. That's 21 feet of river elevation. We peaked this morning 21.75, so anybody with activities near the river, please exercise extreme caution. There is not a large amount of inundation that happens until we reach further flood stages, but access to Fox's Bend is traditionally impacted around 22 or so. So we just ask that everybody near the river exercise extreme caution.
Good point. Thank you.
Morning. Thank you, Avery. Other comments this morning in citizens communication? Let's see, Crystal, we had a animal services activity at the park. Yes. I saw that online, did not get the chance to stop by with all that was happening. Tell us about that. Looked to be pretty successful.
Yes, it was very successful. We went out to Shine the Light with Gulf Bend. They
Okay.
put it on with vendors, and it was a 1.5-mile walk. And it was just to bring mental health awareness, suicide prevention. And one of our employees, her sister had a similar incident happen, and so she was there, and to support her sister. And we had 2 adoptions, so
All right.
it was good. We had a couple of people take the dogs on the 1.5 mile walk, so
Good.
it was very successful.
Very good.
Very
Well,
good.
thank you,
I just
Crystal.
wanted to let y'all know too that one of my officers, his house was affected in the tornado. So
Oh,
he is off today cleaning up, and I think his barn and sheds were destroyed, and he's still without power. But just to let y'all know, we did have an employee affected.
all right.
Thank
I
you.
was,
Thank
sorry, but I was signed up to come to it, but obviously I was in Guadalupe,
Yes, sir.
Hidden Valley area.
Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you.
So was Martin.
All right, anything else in citizens' communication before we move on? Seeing nothing, we'll move right along to item number 4. That is to consider approval of minutes and take appropriate action. Each of you have a copy of those minutes in front of you.
Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 5, consider approval of accounts payable and take appropriate action.
Accounts payable for May 4th, 2026 are $813,956.50. Supplemental payments are $473,432.09.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, Michelle. Item 6 is to receive monthly and quarterly reports from various county officials and departments and take appropriate action.
We have a report from pretrial services.
All right.
Move for approval, or move to receive.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 7, consider approval of bond forfeiture releases and take appropriate action.
I ask for a motion to approve as per entry into record.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Thank you, Belinda. Item number 8 is to consider approval of Citizens Medical Center interim vendor payments. We have the April 30th memo from our hospital showing interim vendor payments at $227,138.71, and the ACH report on that same date totaled $2,893,352.25.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Next 2 items are for 2 noteworthy events coming up this week. 9 is to hear a proclamation in commemoration of Cinco de Mayo and take appropriate action. We have a proclamation here from the court that reads as follows. For those not familiar with the history of Cinco de Mayo, you're about to hear about it. Whereas the government of Mexico in 1861 suspended payments to foreign nations, an action that prompted France, ruled by Napoleon III, to invade Mexico with a large army. And whereas France sought to make Archduke Maximilian, a descendant of King Charles V of Spain, the ruler of Mexico by force of arms in violation of the Mexican Constitution. And whereas French and Mexican armies clashed in a fierce battle around Puebla, a fortified town located about 80 miles from Mexico City, on May 5th, 1862. And whereas the outnumbered Mexican soldiers won a surprise victory over the superior French army that day, boosting morale in what would mark a turning point in their nation's struggle. And whereas the Mexican forces were led on May 5th by 33-year-old General Ignacio Zaragoza. And whereas that significant event in 1862 has special connections to local residents, as General Zaragoza was born about 25 miles from Victoria in 1829, and a historical reconstruction of the childhood home of Zaragoza now stands near Presidio La Bahia in Goliad. And whereas the victory of Zaragoza's troops at Puebla is now celebrated in Mexico, in the United States, and in many other countries around the world, and has become commonly known as Cinco de Mayo. And whereas Cinco de Mayo has evolved into a cultural celebration in many communities across the nation, to honor Mexican culture and heritage through traditional parades, music, and food. Now therefore be it resolved that the Victoria County Commissioners Court does hereby proclaim May 5th as a celebration of Cinco de Mayo in Victoria and encourage all residents to join in celebrating cultural events and the historical heroes which make the Victoria area such a unique place as the crossroads of Texas. Do we have a motion to receive that
So moved.
proclamation?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. And our next item, more reading for me this morning, but that's okay. On May 7th, coming up is National Day of Prayer, the 75th annual observance, actually. So 10 is to hear a proclamation related to National Day of Prayer. This reads as follows: whereas prayer has played a central role throughout the history of the United States of America, giving guidance and strength from the days of the Founding Fathers to present, and whereas to recognize the importance of this practice, the National Day of Prayer was officially established by Congress in 1952 and reinforced by President Ronald Reagan, who in 1988 proclaimed the first Thursday in May as an annual day dedicated to national prayer. And whereas the 75th annual observation of the National Day of Prayer this year will take place on May 7th under the theme, Glorify God Among the Nations. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is a profound expression of faith, which has been a cornerstone of American identity and spirit, and a day when individuals from every walk of life across the nation unite to reflect, seek forgiveness, and offer prayers of thankfulness. And whereas such recognition is the hallmark of an educated, moral, and free society, now therefore be it resolved that I, Ben Zeller, Victoria County Judge, do hereby proclaim May 7th as the National Day of Prayer in Victoria County, and encourage all residents to come together in prayer and offer gratitude for God's boundless love and grace. Do we have a motion to receive?
Move to receive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Moving on now in the agenda to item number 11. That is to consider approval of an interlocal agreement with the Golden Crescent Regional Sexual Assault Response Team, SART, as it's known, for coordinated community response to sexual assault in Victoria County and take appropriate action. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you
Morning.
so much for allowing me time to address you today. My name is Catherine Reynolds, and I am the Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator. And so this interlocal agreement is just a renewal of the original one signed in 2021 with the establishment of the SART by the state. And that one didn't really have an end date. It was our first, just wanting to put into writing exactly what the SART is doing and what's expected of our counties as well. And so this new agreement, we plan to update it every 2 years going forward so that we can make any necessary edits or changes that might be needed. So if you like, I can go over just briefly the responsibilities of the parties. It's a 6-page document, but that's one of the sections that's probably the most important.
Sure, go right ahead.
All right. So the local government, and this is on Article 3, the local government shall retain active membership by designating primary and alternative representatives to the SART, ensure attendance and active participation at quarterly meetings and any mandatory training required by law or the SART, cooperate in data collection and request for information, encourage the use of SART protocols within the local government's jurisdiction, encourage collaboration with SART members to strengthen coordination and victim services, allow access to governing bodies. Upon request of the regional SART, the local government shall allow designated SART representatives to be placed on the agenda and present before the City Council Commissioners Court. Such appearances may include, but are not limited to, provide updates on SART activities, protocols, and legislative requirements, address participation, coordination, and victim services gaps, present biennial reporting outcomes or program recommendations, and requesting local support or policy action necessary to fulfill SART responsibilities under state law. The local government agrees to make reasonable efforts to accommodate such requests in accordance with its standard agenda posting and meeting procedures. And finally, support the submission of timely biennial reports. And then the SART shall serve as the regional convener and coordinating body for all SART activities, schedule, host, and document quarterly SART meetings, provide administrative and technical support, including maintenance of protocols and reporting processes, provide training opportunities to enhance trauma-informed, victim-centered practices, update, develop, and maintain the SART protocol and case review in compliance with state law, compile required biannual reporting to participating counties and provide guidance to member agencies, and finally, to facilitate data collection and case review processes.
Okay, let's see. It was not, you've been here more recently than 2 years ago, it seems like.
Yes,
Was it-
I came for the biennial report.
That was the biennial
Yes,
report?
sir,
Okay,
because I
so
came in
we heard that.
December,
That was
yes.
the more detailed, in December, you say?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds about right. And then this is the interlocal, an updated interlocal agreement? Okay.
And
gotcha.
moving forward, we hope to be able to just do the biennial reporting and interlocal agreement all in one go.
Mm-hmm.
And since that is, it kind of coincides with each other, our biennial reporting period alongside the interlocal agreement.
Gotcha, okay. Very good. Well, thank you, Catherine, for that and for all you do. And I guess just let us know when you want to be back on the agenda for either the report or whatever else we need to address.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, thank you
Thank
so
you
much
again.
again.
Thank you for what you do.
Item 12 is to receive for the record SB 8 agreement, Sheriff's Immigration Law Enforcement Grant Program, and take appropriate action. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Morning.
Morning.
Right.
This is just some funding that we received through Senate Bill 8, and it's pretty broad range of what we can use it for, anything immigration related.
Okay.
Okay.
right, sounds good.
And this is approving or reapproving the grant program.
Just
The-
receiving it.
The amount of that?
I believe it's 80,000.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, we're receiving for the record
Yeah.
that
Yep.
document. Okay,
Move to approve.
Second.
simple enough. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Had a second. All
Appreciate it.
those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 13 is to consider approval of Billy T. Catan American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, subrecipient agreement, and take appropriate action. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning,
Morning,
Judge,
Robin.
Commissioners. So with our ARPA funds, they're secured into what we have given to Billy T. Catan. There was a complication with one of their line items and their ability to do it within budget for specifically their generator. So they proposed that they create a new line item for construction administration and another for IT equipment that they'll be needing for their facility. The construction administration was federally compliant in procurement for some other line items that they had, and so discussed it with the judge, and we're asking for approval to make that happen so they can utilize all these funds.
Yeah, and of course, my questions to you, Robin, of course, were we still within the original amount we allocated?
Yes, sir.
And is
Right.
this permissible under the ARPA guidelines? And it was yes and yes, so
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm supportive of this.
Cool.
And thank you for your work on this, Robin.
Thank you. Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 14 is to consider approval of Resolution 2026-055 designating authorized signatories for the CDBG MIT, that's the Mitigation Program for GLO State Contract 24065-186 F328, and take appropriate action. What have we got here?
So the GLO is conducting quarterly file reviews for all of the entities receiving funds, and there was a minor discrepancy on our signatories resolution, so we're merely correcting that.
Okay. So this is just a clerical thing? Mm-hmm. Okay.
One missing name.
Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
And since y'all are here, if you want to just a real quick update, we are still revising the final descriptions on that as
Okay.
well. So we're working on getting that all. I don't know if you have anything that you would like to add, Avery. Well,
Commissioners, as we revise the project areas, we are trying to figure out if any acquisitions are needed as part of this process. That includes temporary construction easements that may be needed for preliminary outfall cleanings. As y'all are aware, a lot of these projects are drainage related.
Right.
And the original project boundaries, in some project area instances, did not include the outfall or just upstream. So we're evaluating that with our contracted engineering services. We have done a preliminary review of the updated project areas. Please expect this week that you'll receive some documentation via email for each of your respective project areas as a
Okay.
confirmation. We'll then have a follow-up meeting with our contracted engineer.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll move forward.
That's great. I
Very
appreciate all
good.
you guys do, really do.
Thank you both. Our next item, perhaps the most exciting of the morning, is to discuss and consider an updated draft of the purchasing and procurement policy.
I mean, what is more exciting than
Wow.
purchasing and procurement on a Monday morning?
I got
Judge,
goosebumps, I tell you.
Commissioners.
I was looking forward to this part of court.
I originally was going to bring up one about 3 times this thick and assure you that the new policy wasn't quite as large.
That was chapter 1, right? Yeah.
Well, this is 1 and 2 here. It's the abridged version, though. I want to thank everyone who has worked very hard in our weekly procurement working group to bring this to this point. I want to thank everyone who has given us very thoughtful ideas, comments, takes, suggestions on this. I want to thank the department heads and others who have come to our meetings, our roundtables, who have submitted questions to us. And now you're going to hear from folks with more details about this policy that I would hope in another 2 weeks we will have back before you for final approval.
Thank you, Chris. Let's see. Avery, you're up.
Avery,
So,
again.
Again, yeah,
Right.
got a few items this morning. So again, I just would like to echo, Chris, specifically the feedback that we received from department heads and those that attended our workshop sessions to talk about the draft document that was published about a month ago. We've incorporated some of that feedback, particularly in the supporting guidance documents that are important for people on the front lines directly responsible for purchasing to know, based on purchase type, what they need to do to be able to complete those transactions in full compliance with the policy. So we hope that those have addressed a lot of the main talking points. This will be circulated again for an additional round of feedback prior to formal approval
Okay.
through y'all. The biggest thing is to note the thresholds for procurement, which have affected either competitive bid requirements over $100,000 or our internal policy of 3 quotes for purchases between 50 and 100,000.
Got you.
So those are the main updates, and then mostly some massaging of wording, and then creation of some additional supporting documents, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. I was looking over it this morning. It looked very, very, very well done. So,
Absolutely. And then final shout out, Adrienne Willis, our new procurement specialist. I guess I say new in the relative scheme of things, but she's done a fantastic job of compiling this and ensuring that we're fully compliant with state law. So really could not be more proud and appreciative of the actions that she's taken on this and the rest of the team as well. So,
all right.
do y'all have any questions on the policy itself that we can address while we're here?
I do.
Yes, sir.
How are we going to, from our conversation with Buy Board, how is this going to go into, from the discussion we had
Commissioner, you have to.
about the fairness of the bids and the people that it's limited to?
So the updated policy references purchasing cooperatives and Buy Board as a specific type of purchasing cooperative as a means to circumvent the competitive solicitations process because they're pre-negotiated contracts with fair pricing across the region. It allows us the opportunity to utilize those purchasing cooperatives for specific transactions. In the case of construction projects, it's not necessarily formal policy, but it'll be informal policy, best practices, if you will, that we go out for bid. So we make sure that not only are we getting the most competitive pricing, but we're allowing local contractors the opportunity to bid on these projects.
Good.
That's a very important aspect to everything that we do. You know, we are representing the constituents and taxpayers of Victoria County. Those that have businesses here should be represented and at least be given the opportunity to submit bids on these projects. So something very important. One of the things that we're going to roll out in the coming months are some training resources for departments. That's specifically going to focus on best practices for informal solicitations, and will serve as a forum for questions and answers on the policy and what people need to be doing for different levels of projects. So that is definitely a major point that will be addressed in those training sessions.
I think that'd be a good idea because it's one thing you can read it, but it's also good to have somebody there, especially experts who put it all together to ask questions of. So I applaud you guys for that. I think you're going to get a lot of good feedback and you're going to achieve a lot of your goals that way. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Adrian, do you have anything you want to add on that?
You sure you don't want to say nothing?
Well,
Come on, Adrian. Everybody else has. Come on.
There's really, I guess, just thank you so much for this opportunity. I think that it has all come together really well. And again, I'll just echo what they were saying. I really appreciated the roundtable meeting, just to hear what everyone was doing currently. And just also to just restate what I said in that meeting. I did not come here to just tell you no all the time. It truly is just to reinforce us all just working together just for the better of the county. So again, just thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
you.
So this morning, we're not taking any action on that. This is just the most complete and current draft.
Yes, sir.
You're still taking feedback,
Yes, sir.
and then in a couple weeks, it looks like we'll be adopting it formally. Okay. Very good. Well, thank you all and everybody else who has played a part in this effort and undertaking.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional feedback up here for that committee?
Oh, sir. I think it's
Okay.
great.
All right, then we will move to I don't guess we need to receive that.
No,
That's the version we already, okay. So we
Yeah.
just take no action on
Yeah, we
that.
kinda already
Item
received it.
16 is to consider approval of an interlocal cooperation contract with the Texas Department of State Health Services to conduct mobile food inspection services in connection with the Victoria County Public Health Department. Good morning, David.
Morning, David.
Good morning, Judge Commissioners. So this is a result of House Bill 2844 that was passed last session. This now designates, as of July 1st, that all inspections and permitting will go directly to Department of State Health Services for payments and processing, realizing that the department did not have enough staff, department as in the State Department of State Health Services, did not have enough staff to perform these inspections. They're now going to contract back with us to do the same thing we were doing previously. So that will have an effect on our operations. Unfortunately, they also put a not-to-exceed amount in this contract. That amount is $26,801. That is probably only in the neighborhood of 30% of our annual revenue from these mobile food inspections. We brought in closer, probably about $90,000 on those previously. So that's a direct reduction in revenue in that line item. Hopefully, they'll be able to amend the contract at some point when more funds do come in. We'll be hopeful of a new fiscal year starting September 1. There'll be an amendment to this contract providing more funds to that. So in the front end, there will be a negative effect to it.
So how did that result in lower funds? We were conducting those inspections previously. There was a fee associated with it. We were contracting with some other, I guess, jurisdictions. Then that responsibility went to the state, and then they turned around and are paying us instead of, what replaced what in terms of the funding, I guess is what I'm asking.
So the way it was set up before is we would conduct inspections twice a year on mobile food vendors. We would just coordinate all the billing directly with us. They'd come, they would pay us, we'd process, we'd go out and inspect and permit on a regular basis biannually. Now, as of July 1, all those payments will go directly through DSHS. They will take payment, then they'll turn around and basically assign us those inspections. Now, what's happened is, for some reason, a not-to-exceed amount was put in that contract. When they're receiving all the payments directly, I'm not sure why there was the not-to-exceed put in there at all. But unfortunately now, instead of, roughly we're getting $500 a year for each unit, for 2 inspections, roughly about 200 units, a little under 200 units, so it was $90,000 to $100,000 in revenue we get. So now this not to exceed amount is much less than that. So what'll happen is when we meet this not to exceed amount, we were instructed to stop inspecting those units. So we will be, once, 26,801, I think they're roughly, they're charging about $400 a unit for just the permitting fee. There'll be some other fees associated. So this roughly only gets us about 60 inspections or so. It may be, give or take 10 based on other fees.
So what happens when we hit that cap?
We just stop
Who
inspecting.
inspects at that point?
They may have state personnel, but we're instructed by the state to cease inspections.
I see a.
Until we're able to, unless they're able to amend the contract, then we take them.
I see a
Are you talking about
problem on the
mobile
horizon.
food?
Mobile food trucks.
Oh, food trucks.
Food trucks, yes, sir. Yeah, that is, definitely will be a problem.
So nothing has changed as far as permitting for like facilities that like deal with the elderly and stuff like that?
So and that would be Senate Bill 1008.
Yeah.
We haven't had any updates to that. We've definitely pleaded our case to legislators on modifying that to identify those gaps and those issues. So we'll see, hopefully next session there'll be some updates.
Yes, sir. All right. All right.
All right, any further discussion on item 16?
Sure. Move for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 17, consider approval of HHSC Federal Funding Accountability and Transparency Act certification form in connection with the Victoria County Public Health Department. What have we got here?
This is a standard form that's usually included in HHSC contracts. For some reason this year, this one was sent separately, apart from FY26. This is something we sign every year. It's basically just attesting to the, for the Accountability and Transparency Act, the amount of gross revenue from federal awards that we do receive as a county.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Item 18 is to discuss and consider the following in connection with Victoria County facility and maintenance improvements, and take appropriate action. A, consider approval of co-op proposals for long lead time equipment. And C, consider approval to proceed with request for proposals for HVAC and electrical contractors. Morning, Kelly. What have we got here?
Good morning, sirs, and this is kind of timely to talk about this because I feel both co-op purchases and bid procedures are both applicable as long as you're properly managing how you're using both of those. And in this particular project, I'm asking to use both. We have co-op purchases on major mechanical equipment. This equipment is not made locally. There's nobody that makes it local. It's going to be priced out, whether I price it out or a contractor prices it out, and this is to direct buy this equipment, which helps with uniformity across our system, and gets us the material here without paying contractors markups on the materials. These two co-op quotes are to be funded from the bond money. Then if we approve these quotations today, proposals, then we need to move forward with working with Adrian to set up the bid process for the mechanical and the electrical contractors. The buy board's not appropriate for that, so that'll have to be bid out. This is the same exact process that we've used several times before, the last one being the Cornhouse HVAC renovations, where general construction type work is at a minimum. In fact, this project has no general construction work planned except for a few wall patches.
Okay, so 18A is pertaining to which project?
This all pertains to the Annex HVAC upgrade.
Okay.
Phase 2. So another thing to note is the roofing work on that project was already coordinated with the roofers when we let the bond-covered project go to the roofers. So that part is already covered. We don't have to pay that a second time. But this proposal for the ERV, the Energy Recovery Ventilator Unit for the roof. We need to move forward with, another reason to move forward with purchasing this is so I can get the curb that goes along with it and get that in the hands of the roofer before he starts roofing the annex.
Okay, so the numbers we're seeing here related to this, is that in keeping with what we projected and anticipated for
Yes.
this, on this project?
Yes, these numbers are only slightly higher than what I had priced a couple years ago for the budget. The question's going to be the price of how the bids come in. You know, that may or may not come in as expected. But these prices have only a few percentage points higher than when this project's been out for a while. We've been talking about it for a while, and this is only a few dollars higher than what the estimates were a year and a half ago when we put it on the bond list.
Okay. Avery, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, sir, just to reiterate Kelly's point, we won't know the total dollar amount if it exceeds what's currently budgeted in our CO bond project list until these bids are received. But as he mentioned, material price was only slightly higher. That's a good thing. Since it was priced several years ago and we've seen significant cost inflation across the construction sector, that's good. I mean, I think it indicates that, people are hungry for work in this area.
We had intended to work forward on this and bring it to you guys back in January. And the vendors were being touchy about the impending tariffs and if that was going to affect it. And as of now, it has affected it. The prices have stabilized and the tariffs have had almost minimal effect on either of these prices.
All right, any questions up here for Kelly or Avery? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve. Appreciate you explaining the difference between the buy board and just Republic notice.
Yeah.
And bidding. Because that's where I do sometimes have a problem with buy board. I think it
I
can
think
cut out.
both have a purpose.
Yeah.
We need to and that's why Adrian's here now, is to make sure that we properly manage why we're using each procedure. I think the state allows us buy board. It just needs to be properly
I agree.
applied.
I agree. I move
All
for
right.
approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Thank you, Kelly.
Motion approved. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
Item 19 is to consider approval of order number 2026-056, ratifying investments of brokered CDs and government agencies and take appropriate action.
Good morning, Paige.
Good morning.
Morning, Paige.
Good morning, Judge. Judge and Commissioners.
Morning.
All right, well, so this is the CDs that we have bought over since January through March. And as you see, we actually only did 3. We've actually got all of our CDs laddered out very well. You will see a slight upkeep in these the coming quarter, but this is all we did so far in January through March as far as buying new CDs.
And these are non-callable?
These are all non-callable.
Move to approve.
Second.
With the way the rates have been, I am not looking at callables at all.
No, no.
Just thought I'd ask.
All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 20, consider approval of the first quarter's treasury report.
All right, so this is the treasurer's report for the quarter, and if you'll look through, this actually will give you all the interest. We've had some requests on for the year from January. You'll see it actually starts with 0, so we zero it all out. So on 3/31, an example of, we'll just give the mental health hospital. We actually did $23,539.93 in interest. That is through Texas Class. These are actually divided out for each individual investment through the pools, CDs, agencies, and everything of that, and it's all broken down. We are excited so far this year that we expected all of our rates to be going down significantly by now. They were expecting several cuts at the end of last year to be going on, and those have all slowed down with the war in Iran. So all of our rates are actually still about the same. We're still being able to get stuff around 4% for any of the investments that we're wanting to do presently.
All right. All right, thank you for that. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paige. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 21. Discuss and consider the following in connection with the Victoria County Human Resources Department and take appropriate action. A, receive for the record bloodborne pathogens exposure standing order. B, consider approval of an order amending reserve constable policy. And C, consider approval of an order for creation of a reserve fire marshal program. Good morning, Gianni.
Good morning.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The standing order, we have a bloodborne pathogens policy. We've defined 3 different risk control groups out of our entire demographic, those that are regularly exposed, those that may be occasionally exposed, and those that are rarely exposed. But the standing order is what they use if an employee's exposed in the event of their work. It just tells the hospital what tests to follow, and it gives them our workers' comp information as well. And so with the change to workers' comp provider in January and new staff in HR, we realized that we had not updated that. So we worked with Dr. McNeil. What you have before you is his most recent standing order.
Yeah, that is.
For item B, with the additional funds that you guys budgeted this year for the reserve constables to be paid for a certain period of time in the absence of the constable, but I actually found that the court adopted an order setting that policy in 2001. So we just made some changes to the wording and added in that temporary assignment. As we were looking through how we were going to manage that for onboarding purposes, I went ahead and created a 1-page temporary assignment form that will give constables a quick and easy way to let us know in their absence who's going to be serving in that temporary status position. So I believe that I sent that to Cameron in time for you guys, so that should also be in your packet. Just give you an example of what that looks like. And then item C, our fire marshal, Dan Porter, reached out to me about possibly creating a reserve program for him, for his office as well. Did find that that has to be something that's approved by the court, so we did a similar policy in an order, have you guys consider to adopt that. Under the statute, it must meet the same process for appointment as the actual fire marshal. So that means that if and when Dan, or I see Nathan here, not Dan, but if and when they identify someone that meets all the qualifications, they will come to you with that appointment, and the court will have to appoint them as a reserve fire marshal. They will have to be bonded and assume the oath as well. So.
Okay, so Nathan, can you speak to what this will look like? I guess the purpose behind it, and then what in practice this will look like for us?
So what this program will do, will allow us to have a pool of manpower to pull from if we need for large-scale incidents where we're out on fires and stuff like that, or there are opportunities or times where both me and Dan are out at the same time. This person could fill in for us. It does a lot more, just like what we would do for like a reserve deputy or something like that. They're working in those same capacities where they can come in and help fill in times of our needs.
Okay.
But they will be commissioned officers, just like me or Dan, the same thing, have all the same credentials that we have, qualifications that we have.
So this would be like a PRN person?
Unpaid, so volunteers.
Unpaid. They'd be a strictly volunteer. Okay, that was gonna be my next question. All right.
Now, they do have to be bonded, so you may see a scenario where his bonds line item in their department
Gotcha.
decreases depending on the volume of reserves they have.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and then as far as the constable reserve deputy, so if I understand this correctly, it has to be to where we identify the specific hours that are being paid versus all the other hours that are not paid.
That's
This
correct,
was
because
a
the
kind of a-
intention was to maintain them as volunteer positions throughout the year, with the exception of that assignment period when the constable was out, is my understanding. So
Okay.
that's how.
Constable Easley, you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, this is kind of new to me. I'm not aware of any policy. And I do want to say, I think now that they're a part-time employee, is that correct? Our reserves are a part-time employee.
Well, they're not part-time for the entire year. So the intention, I believe, of the court was to provide you up to
35.
35 hours a
And
week
4
for
weeks.
4 weeks in 1 year to cover your absence.
Yeah, but it would be more useful if, in my absence, I mean, I didn't know I was going to have to notify anybody. I'm not aware of any policy. I've never seen it. I've been in office 21 years, so I'm not aware of the policy.
But it's a new policy.
And nobody contacted us about this either, so we have no input in it. I'd like to have some input if there's some policy.
Yeah, my
You know.
understanding on this is that, well, of course, us paying anything to the reserves is a new thing that just went into effect this year. Unbeknownst to us at that time, we would have to, as I understand it, identify and partition out the specific instances in which those reserves are being paid. Otherwise, it would be a part-time employee status, which is not what the court intended. It would be a reserve to cover the 3 or 4 weeks that they need to fill in for sick time, vacation, whatever it is.
I need mine more to fill in because I can't do everything all the time.
Okay.
Not just because I'm sick or something.
Right, and this would accommodate that based on what I'm understanding. Because the ramifications of not having this are what, Gianni?
That he's working him every week, and then you run into a scenario where he needs more money in his salary.
Well, and it's also,
That would-
is it a fair labor standards issue?
There are some, the attorney recommended just adding it to the policy. That was the recommendation from Cullen Law Firm, to designate the temporary assignment period so that we don't leave them as a extra help ongoing employee.
Gotcha. Well, it would be more helpful for me if they were extra help. I mean, kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, I can't notify you if something happens and I need to call them to
That
go.
would be a court decision. That's not
Yeah,
my
I'd like to,
understanding of what you
I would
guys
like to ask the
approved.
court if they could hold off on approving any of that policy until, the constables were actually involved in it as well.
This is already in place.
Yeah, and
The way, I mean, because the constable in my precinct, in precinct 4, used it last December, where he was out on medical leave, and it was used.
yeah, that's, I mean, I understand, but I thought the point of having a part-time reserve deputy was for us to use when we need them. So,
Gianni, is this just more of a way to ensure that when they're working in the capacity to be paid, that they're paid properly by documenting their hours and stuff through this?
Yes.
okay.
And additionally, currently, unpaid reserves are not covered under workers' comp. So you run into a situation is once they're paid, we have to cover them under workers' comp. So we need to be able to clearly identify the times that they're serving that is considered volunteer and the times that's considered paid.
Okay.
And
So
who decides that?
Well, you're going to decide that, which is the
Okay.
purpose of the temporary
That's-
assignment,
yeah.
but,
That's what I want to be clear on.
the other thing is, the court has only authorized them the 35 hours a week
Correct.
for up to 4 weeks in 1 year. So having them submit to us those time periods is gonna be able to have HR track and manage that, so you're not exceeding that without them coming and asking the court to do that, if and so we get to
Yeah,
that.
it was budgeted in 25 for 26 for this year.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. I just
Correct.
wasn't aware of any policy that dictated how they were used.
Right.
It didn't exist, so that's just
Okay.
kind of been,
Just-
as we're implementing
Okay.
at the beginning of the year, lots of questions came up with how we're
I
gonna.
haven't, I don't
manage
know,
it.
I don't know what it consists of or haven't had time to read it. I'd like to look at it personally. But I guess if it doesn't suit me, I can approach the court later for some other thing. So,
I would say so.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Constable. All right, any further discussion on this?
So as a recommendation, do we need to table it to allow the constables to review it and provide feedback
If
before we
that
approve
is
it?
the
Or
wish of the court, or if we're comfortable proceeding with it, then we can certainly do that as well. I don't understand, I mean, I don't see there being a way around it. As my understanding goes, we would have to have a system in which we clearly partition out and identify the hours that are being paid versus non-paid. Otherwise, we inadvertently get into workers' comp issues and other things, but,
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's completely up to the court. What he's asking for is a fully on the table, part-time person. That's not my intention of what was put in the budget
yeah,
for
well, that's not what
2026.
is in the budget. If that were to occur, it would need to be approved and put in the budget. That's not currently in the budget.
Because we approved last year just this additional funds to help them out when they were out, correct? From what I remember.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's what it was.
yes.
About
About
22,000.
22,000,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I think that this is fitting, if not necessary. But if there are unanswered questions the court would like to get, you can certainly, we can delay this for a week or however many weeks. It is up to y'all. In my view, I think we're good to go on it, but if there are unanswered questions, then certainly you would want your questions answered.
There's none on my end. I just want to make sure that the
Yeah.
constables are squared away on this since it directly affects them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have several questions because I've never seen it. I have no idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we can do it for a week, and if they want to look at this,
Yeah.
I mean, this basically is just for us compensating the reserve deputies.
So I have a lot of questions about it.
That's
Yeah, and my intention was, once the court decided what it is you
Right.
wanted this to look like, to follow up with the constables and talk through them with any
All right.
questions they had in the processes there. But if you want them to look at it beforehand, I'm happy to.
I think that'd probably be a better part of wisdom in this case,
Why
but
not?
I have no problem with that
So-
because I want to make sure everybody's aware of what's going on.
So we can take no action on that particular item, 21B. We can plan to have that on next week or the following week, and in the interim, everybody can talk and discuss and have questions answered. And so, okay, well then we'll do that. Do I hear a motion to approve 21A and C?
Move to approve.
Move to approve 1A and C. Oh, I'm sorry.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. All right, our next item then is to consider establishing a risk management and safety committee and take appropriate action.
Okay, this was on your agenda a couple of weeks ago, one of the recommendations by TAC. I did kind of reach out to a few of the different offices, and there was some recommendation to change the structure just a tad bit. So increasing it from 9 to 11, or doing 11 instead of 9, not really an increase there. But that essentially would separate road and bridge and engineering. So you have engineering standing alone, and then 2 separate representatives from road and bridge. I do have some names of actual people that have reached out and said, here's who I would like to appoint from our office. I don't know if you guys want to hear the names or want to just go ahead and recommend with the representatives as listed in your packet. You let me know.
I would think that approving the structure here would be sufficient, and then the directors or elected officials of each of those departments or offices can let you know who it is.
Well, I was going to say, Judge, I think, and the finance representatives, well, what is that, or who does that consist of?
Either someone from the auditor's office or the treasurer's office, that would be.
All right. Could it be both?
I mean, we could have 2,
Yeah, because the auditor's office has one function, the treasurer's office actually has to pay it and get it out. So I think that would be prudent to have that if we could. That'd be the only change I would say. The rest of it, I love the way the layout flows.
But don't we kind of already have that policy in place as far as how we pay out, kind of like what happened this past weekend?
Mm-hmm.
I don't, so you'd want to,
Yeah, well, this is Risk Management and Safety Committee,
right,
not,
Risk Management and Safety Committee? I
right.
don't understand why.
Why-
I'm questioning that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we talking about why the finance is on there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's risk and everything, but if you have to get something paid or somebody paid or something along those lines, you want to make sure, number one, like what the auditor's office sent out with gathering info about since the disaster declaration. I mean, I think it's
That's what I was referencing. just
yeah,
like this
but
next
I think,
weekend.
but the auditor's office does one function. The treasurer's office has to actually disperse the monies. So they would probably need to be in the loop to know who they're going to pay and when they got to pay it.
Cool.
So I think, I love the way the structure lays out. It's a great representation. You're hitting all of them. I just think with the finance side, if you're going to have that, you need to have auditor and treasurer. That way you cover all your bases.
For Road and Bridge Representative 10 and 11, you can put myself and Commissioner Martin down.
Okay. So the question seems to be, Road and Bridge will be Precinct 1, Precinct 3. As far as the finance representative, this isn't a finance
3
heavy
and 4.
endeavor, as I understand it. This is Risk Management and Safety Committee.
Right.
This is, yeah.
Okay.
And the finance is typically in other counties, the auditor. And I will say our auditor does assist with some of the risk management function. For example, if they have purchases filtered through or POs for the purchase of new equipment, they actually add those in and report those to tax website directly once they process through their asset line items in the auditor's office. So that's pretty common across counties, so that's generally who is on there. But we can have it be anyone and everyone, but I mean, it's completely up to
I
you
think
guys.
11 members
Should
is
be.
sufficient, with one being the auditor. I think that's sufficient.
You can also have it be just a subject matter expert and bring them in as we need. They don't have to actually be a committee member if you think it's unnecessary.
Okay, well, you're chairing the committee. I am fortunately not on the committee, thank you. And whoever else played a role in
gonna be
not
Chris.
listing me there. Oh, wait, county, okay.
Okay, you're good.
Chris, you can take that.
Well, we have two, if we
Thank you,
have
Your
two
Honor.
commissioners, it will have to be the chief
Okay.
of staff,
Yeah, we
yeah,
kicked
to
you to
avoid
the
any
curb.
quorum.
Okay, all right, however y'all choose to proceed.
And I mean, the treasurer can't pay anything without the auditor approving it anyway, right?
Is that, I think that's accurate, Michelle? That is correct. Yeah.
And vice versa. Oh, y'all are such a team. It's your call.
It's your call.
Indeed.
We've made our
I mean, if we have 12, I'll just have the committee chair not be a voting member, so I'm happy to not vote on anything and just coordinate and facilitate.
Yeah,
so
we
nobody
certainly
go
want
there.
your voice heard in that. I think 11 is fine, the auditor covering the finance perspective, and then the road and bridge being number 1 and number 3.
Yep. I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, or to be clear, that is what, Commissioner?
I move to approve this item. What do you want me to, you talking about for the committee?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm motioning up. That's what we're,
The way it's
looking at.
presented to you?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, so the road and bridge is Precinct 1 and Precinct 3, the finance
No,
representative.
Precinct 4.
Precinct 3 and Precinct 4.
Precinct 3 and 4, I'm sorry. Precinct 3 and Precinct 4, the finance representative will be the auditor, and then with each other listed department or office, that department head or elected official will let you know who it's going to be. I would assume that over the course of time, those appointees will change, that doesn't need to come back to Commissioners Court. They can just let you know this is the overall framework of how this will work, I think, unless the court would like to vote on that. Okay, well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? If there is none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion approved. All right, the next item is also HR related. Number 23 is to consider approval of a safety shoe reimbursement program and take appropriate action.
This is another program that eventually the Risk Management and Safety Committee will kind of oversee or will tie into our workers' comp program. Our workers' comp program provides us a safety credit every year. It's 3% of our annual premiums that can go for us to utilize for the purpose of safety equipment. We have historically used that for Shoes for Crews program. We have about 70 positions that have used it, and it covered 50% of the purchase of a pair of shoes. You went through a specific website, and we paid for it, and then the workers' comp provider reimbursed us 50% of the purchase. What we would like to see, and this is something I worked on with the auditor's office with Becky previously before she departed from us, and we just kind of looked to see if it's best to keep it in the safety program or if we wanted this to run separately and independently. Still part of it, but outside of the safety credit, so that frees up our safety credit to purchase things like first aid kits and defibrillators, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. It can pay for emergency exit signage, things like that in all of the buildings, and we can use it for more specific safety related things. We can even use it for things like Gatorade and vest and hard hats and other things like that, that ensure our teams and employees across the various departments have the safety supplies that they need. The safety shoe program identified certain positions. Historically, we had animal services, our maintenance and custodian positions, our environmental services positions, and our road and bridge departments that participated in the shoe program. We keeping it the same, given the proposed policy before you, asks the county. County still reimburses up to 50% of the purchase with a maximum of $150. So the employee would be allowed to purchase their shoe, whether it needs to be safety, steel toe, whether it just needs to be water resistant, those types of things. They would purchase it from whatever vendor of their choosing, try it on, pick the shoe that they like, and submit the receipt and proof of safety.
Okay, 2 questions. So the departments that this would apply to, run that by me again: Road and Bridge, Animal Services.
Our facilities and maintenance tech position, so that's in facilities department and juvenile services, out at the airport as well.
Okay. Is that listed in here?
You should have a cost breakdown, and it has all the departments
I
in the
do not
packet.
have a cost breakdown. But, okay. So it's clearly identified who this applies to. And the change is that this is basically an improvement to the employee benefit, where they now can buy whatever safety-related shoes they want from wherever, rather than a single vendor.
Correct, and picking from the ones that are available.
Okay, but the dollar amount still stays the same.
Yeah, it's comparable, yeah.
Okay, but we expect, due to that greater option, that wider variety of options, that this will increase our overall reimbursements. By how much?
It's a total cost, I gave you my sheet there, but I think it's about $12,600 across all the departments.
Okay.
But this would essentially create an additional salary line item in each of the department's budgets to fund up to $150 for every one of those positions.
Okay, so it doesn't stay at the old amount, it increases the amount
Up to $150.
from 50.
It's always just been 50%, so the amounts varied
Okay,
previously.
okay.
It is still 50%, but we are setting a cap of $150.
I see. Okay, so the long and short of it is, it's an enhancement to the shoe safety program and will cost, we anticipate, about $12,000
Per year, yeah.
per year. Okay,
And the only question that has come up, I will say, is Sheriff's Office has typically not participated under this safety shoe, the Shoes for Cruise programs. They did reach out to me to want to kind of visit with me and talk to me about that, but we hadn't had an opportunity to do that just yet. So if there's some changes there, we'll come back to you and let you know.
okay.
But they do have some, like custodians and cooks, so some of the cooks as well in our detention centers participate.
It would
so-
seem that if it were applied to the SO, we would have to identify who, I mean, because not, the 200 positions over there, people don't.
It would be their maintenance.
Yeah.
Their maintenance and custodian and their cooks
Okay,
positions. That's who, the positions we've applied it to in other departments.
okay.
Do we have any data in regards to if the, I mean, I have experience with the Shoes for Cruise program, especially in healthcare. Do we have any data that shows if it's effective in reducing falls or things of that nature or anything like that? I mean, if you don't have it, that's fine. I was just curious.
We don't, but hopefully with the creation of our new risk management and safety committee, they can help build some structure into that program
right.
where we're tracking and monitoring those types of things.
Okay, great.
I mean, on the road and bridge part of this can be out of our budget, can't it?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Part of that 12,000 is already allocated to your
Okay,
funds.
that's fine,
Good. No, that makes sense.
All right,
that's fine.
okay.
All right.
Do we have a motion then
So
to
moved.
approve?
Second.
Item 23, motion and a second. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved.
Other helpful thing to note, this is considered a taxable benefit, so employees are reimbursed through the payroll system
Okay,
Right,
once they submit.
very good. Thank you, Gianni.
thank you for that, Gianni.
And I think that's all of me.
Looks like that's it.
Yeah.
Good work, thanks. All right, moving on to item 24, that's to consider approval of personnel changes and take appropriate action.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Item 25, receive for the record discretionary budget amendments, if any, and take appropriate action. Looks like there is one from the District Attorney's Contraband Forfeiture Fund, $1,038.
Move to receive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. And finally, number 26 is to consider
Number 6.
approval of 2026 budget amendments and take appropriate action. There are several of those all in front of you in your packets, including the budget amendment for the shoes.
For the shoe, I saw that. Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. All right, we'll each need a signature on all of these. And it looks like that was our last item of business for today, so we will stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning. Have a great week.